Hi, I'm Alberta from Parks and Rec. Always mask up. We're going to read the story of the March on Washington today. Okay. It's by Morgan Clendaniel. See? Okay. At the beginning of America's history, most African Americans were forced to be slaves. After slavery ended, some people did not want African Americans to have the same rights as white Americans. In some states, there were different schools for African Americans and whites. There were different sections of restaurants and buses. African Americans wanted to be treated like other Americans. They decided to fight for better treatment. This was the start of a civil rights movement. In Montgomery, Alabama, 1955, an African American woman named Rosa Parks sat in the front of the city bus in the white section. She did not think it was right to pay the same bus fare as the white people and have to sit at the back of the bus. The bus driver told her to move. She refused to get up. The police arrested her. The arrest made other African Americans angry. They planned a boycott of the buses. They stopped taking the buses and walked instead. The boycott worked. Bus companies lost money. A year later, the law was changed. African Americans could sit wherever they wanted on a city bus. There's Rosa. Okay. After the bus boycott, African Americans started to protest in other ways. Groups of African Americans sat down at restaurants that allowed only white people. Often the police would arrest all the protesters. Capitol Building, Washington, D.C. In 1963, see the Capitol Building? In 1963, the leaders of the Civil Rights Movement planned a march or protest in Washington, D.C. They wanted to show the government how important it was for African Americans to be given their civil rights. They wanted to make it legal to treat African Americans differently. On August 28, 1963, more than 250,000 people went. 250 million people went to Washington. People from all over the country took part in the protest. There were black people, white people, young people, and old people. The protesters marched from Washington Monument to the Lincoln Memorial. Millions of Americans watched the march on television. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave a famous speech at the March on Washington. Dr. King spoke about his dream. His dream was someday that all Americans would treat each other like sisters and brothers. It was a stupendous speech. Some people think it was one of the best speeches ever written. Like Dr. King, many people wanted to change America. The March on Washington was a huge step in the fight for equal rights for all Americans. Thank you for listening to the book, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I thought it was a very good lesson. Peace, love, and happiness. Make it count and make it great. I know you can. Bye for now.